Welcome to my class, and in this we are going to do price elasticity of supply. So we know the law of supply, which shows that higher the price, higher the supply, lower the price, lower the supply. But elasticity will tell us, this concept lets us know that how much is the change in supply due to a change in price. If the change in supply is greater than the change in price, then that particular supply is elastic. If the change in supply is less than change in price, it is less elastic. Or if the change in percentage change in quantity supplied is equal to the percentage change in price, then what happens is it's known as unitary elastic. And at the two extremes we have, there is no change whatsoever in the supply, and that is zero elasticity, and on a given price the supply is limitless, and that is perfectly elastic supply. And that's what we are going to do. Just have a look. That is known as price elasticity of supply. So what is that? So there are various definitions. In fact, you should look up and see these definitions as you read. According to Marshall, elasticity of supply refers to the change in the quantity supplied of a commodity in response to change in its price. So, what is so price elasticity of supply is a degree of responsiveness of supply of a commodity to a change in its price. That means it measures the responsiveness of quantity supplied of a commodity to the change in its own price. So it is a numerical measure of responsiveness of supply to a given good, to a change in price. So law of supply explains the quantitative relationship between price and supply because it tells us about the direction of change in supply caused by change in price. And elasticity of supply refers to the quantitative relationship between price and quantity supplied. Thus, elasticity of supply is a measurement of degree of responsiveness of quantity supplied to a change in price. So, it is like, for example, it shows that percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. So based on that, and actually elasticity of supply, in short, depends also on time period. Generally, elasticity of supply is more in the long period than in the shorter period of time. The reason is that in the long run, all adjustment to higher prices can be made easily and supply of commodity can be changed accordingly. And in the short run, we find that it is less elastic. So we're just going to, this is how we're going to do. We just talked about that. Basically, there are 5 types of price elasticity of supply. So we can see that. So what are they? One is perfectly inelastic supply, then inelastic supply, elastic supply, unit elastic supply, and perfectly elastic supply. So all of this. And then we have 2 extreme cases that have been listed here, being shown diagrammatically. The first one is a zero elasticity of supply, which means supply curve has zero elasticity since the same quantity is supplied whatever the price. So it is called perfectly inelastic supply. Can you see that? So supply curve in this case is vertical, that is parallel to the y-axis as shown on the figure. Then you have what is known as infinite elasticity, which means that the supply curve has an infinite elasticity at a given price. Nothing at all will be supplied at any price below OP, while an infinitely large quantity will be supplied at the price above OP. It is called perfectly elastic supply. In such a case, the supply curve is parallel to the x-axis. The producer is willing to supply any quantity or in this, as you see. So these are the 2 extremes. And let's talk about, say, inelastic supply. what you can see in the inelastic supply curve is that it is a very steep curve, and you can see that the change in quantity supplied is less as compared to change in price. That means it is an inelastic supply. And then we have what is known as elastic supply, which means uh, okay, another hint that I can give you, it's a flatter curve. The slope is very gradual, and it points out to the y-axis. It starts from there, so it points to the y-axis, as you see, and it shows that a very little change in price also brings about a big change in the quantity supplied. So change in S, the change in quantity supplied, is greater than change in price. And in the last diagram that that I've shown is that the change in price brings about an equal change in quantity supplied. That means due to a change in the price, the same amount, the same percentage is shown as a change in quantity supplied. So that is known as when the percentage change in quantity supplied is equal to percentage change in price. So the supply of such a commodity is said to be unitary elastic. So in this case, the value of price elasticity of supply is equal to 1. Okay, so in the next class, I'll just take up a few numericals based on this, and that'll make it very clear. So that's what we are going to do in the next class.